Hello, everyone, and welcome to WriterSpeak, dedicated to the written word and those who produce it. I am your host, Jeane Slone, and the author of 3 historical fictions, She Flew Bombers, She Built Ships During World War II, and the newly published She Was an American Spy. Today in the studio, I would like to welcome Amy Atchley.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's nice to have you here. And your wonderful, very original book. The title is called Phantom. I think you have a little subtitle, though.
Yes, Phantom, a Pooh Caper.
Yes, a Pooh Caper, which we'll find out a little bit about that. So tell us, Amy, about the 2-line poem that started the idea for this book.
Thank you. Yeah, this is the 2-line poem that started it is on the back. No poo on paper, no poo in pan. It's a Pooh Caper by a Pooh fan. And so I had just made that, sent it to my brother and a friend of mine, thinking they would get a chuckle. And then they continued it. And so it ended up being sort of a long poem. And we thought it was so funny, And then at some point I looked at it and I said to myself, this is a children's book. And so then we re-edited it and, as they say, where the writing is rewriting.
Yes.
So we did a whole lot of revisions and additions and things like that. And mostly my brother and I took it over. And we found a friend to illustrate it. And he is, he's getting his MFA and things like that. And so he was happy to work with us. And I think he did a beautiful job.
Yeah, the illustrations are nice. Yeah. Well, let's tell the audience a little bit about you. That you have lived and worked in many states all over the United States, really. Mm-hmm. And you obtained your BA in English Literature from the University of Montana. Mm-hmm. And you now live in California.
I do.
And are very busy raising a family. Mm-hmm. So our next question would naturally be, how could you possibly have had the time to write a book while you had a newborn, which is when it started, and a toddler?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that, how I had the time, especially my mom, it blows her mind. But to me, it was, I needed something, I needed an outlet. Because I was at home all the time, with my son, and I had been home for 2 years with my daughter. And so for me, it was like a saving grace, allowing me to do something, to work on something that I could be engaged in that was different from motherhood, which I love. I mean, of course, I love being a mom, but I needed something else to feel productive in another way. And so it wasn't so much how could I possibly do it. To me, it was more, I'm so glad I'm doing this, and I'd always, a lot of us, I think, we think, one day I'd like to write a book, or, I'd love to write a children's book or something. And my husband was very encouraging. We were talking about what I would do when I went back to work, and he said, why don't you write? And I was like, I couldn't do that.
Well, especially because you have a degree in literature.
Yeah, which actually did come into play when we were writing this.
Yes, it would, whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah.
You have the background to be able to do it, for sure.
Yeah, and when we were revising it, I was thinking, I was like, I'd like her to go through the 4 stages of grief, or, I kind of think, I think we should make this sort of an epic story, And so she had different challenges, and they were more emotional challenges, but, and she had to get through them, and she made it through, and so.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's very clever, though, that the stages of grief having to do with potty training. Having children of my own, I understand the subject very well. And it is very interesting how you don't realize it until you're a mother. They don't really want to give up their diapers. And I assume this is maybe why you wrote the book. It's not like they're excited about giving up the diaper. They like the diaper. They like the security of the diaper.
Yeah.
So I think you were cleverly thinking this is a good incentive.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my daughter, when I was potty training her, which was, exactly the time that this was starting. There was a time when she, we did the 3-day method where we basically put her on the potty for 15 minutes every, for 3 days basically, and it worked out really well. But there was a time when she knew she had to go poop, and she was afraid, and so we just had to lighten it up, and that's kind of where this is going, that it just keeps it light. And also as a mother, you have to read the same books over and over and over and over and over. And so I wanted something that would be fun to read for the parents.
Oh, that's good. That's one thing I've always found with children's books is you have to think of the poor parents who have to read these also.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. Well, it is quite a cute little book.
Thank you.
But I still am curious. Were you able to pick a certain time of the day? I mean, when did you squeeze it in?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, it must have been nap times, and then after they went to bed at night. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just had to, whenever I could, basically, I'd go back to it.
Yeah, it probably isn't the same time every day,
No.
or even every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if, my mom came to visit, then I'd have some more time. And a lot of it will, I'm sure, that a lot of the process of this was, we did the writing, and that was a long process, but the bigger chunk of work for it was the production of it. I mean, getting it into the right format, and making sure that all of the, working with the artist to make sure that all of everything, was in there that we wanted to be in there. And I mean, I would say, yeah, the writing of it was only 10%, and the rest of it was so much more. And, it's a self-published book. And so all of that stuff, I was sort of, I guess I would be a producer almost of it, because I didn't do every little thing. But everything came back to me for approval, and my brother and I would work together. So, yeah, it's a process.
I wanted to ask you about, we have a lot of authors who view this program, and I think it would be very educational for all the authors to hear about that you self-published, but you also got on what's called a Kickstarter program, or crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, yeah. Can you, I think they're two different words. Can you explain what crowdfunding is, or Kickstarter?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So crowdfunding is, Kickstarter is one company that does crowdfunding. Oh. Kickstarter is the one company, and
so are there many companies?
There are a few. And so what it is it's generally for creative projects. So, books, art pieces, music is very popular in crowdfunding sites. Engineering type stuff, I don't know if you've heard of Goldie Blocks. It's a new toy for girls that was started on Kickstarter, a crowdfunding site. And so engineering products like, a new case, just new products anyways. And so what they do is they send it out to the people who are sort of asking for money, basically. Send it out, and if it's a good idea, then it sort of spreads, and people give money to sort of be a part of the project. And Amanda Palmer is a really famous crowdfunded artist. She's a musician, and she just got tired of the way the music industry worked, and so she just thought to herself, well, I'm just going to ask people who like my music to pay for it, because there's all this pirating stuff going on, with the internet and everything. And so she goes, well, I'm just going to ask the people to pay for it, And they did, because they loved her music and they wanted to support her. And so that's sort of what's going on, in all of these creative venues, is that people are able to sort of take it on themselves. They don't need to rely on like a publishing company to make it happen. They can make it happen themselves. And because we're in the age of social media and everything, there are ways of getting the word out there about a book that don't include, the major publishing houses.
So does the Kickstarter, do they receive some of the money?
They do, yeah. They get a small percentage. I don't remember exactly. It's about 5%.
Oh, I see. And do you have your friends contributing money, or is this the general public that they are able to find? I was very fascinated by reading about your Kickstarter program and saw all the people and how much they were donating.
Yeah, so it usually starts with friends and family, and then depending on how the idea catches on, then it gets sent out. So the friends might send it to their friends, and then they send it to, say, 300 people, and then those 300 people think, oh, that's a good idea, and then they send it to 300 people, kind of thing, And yeah, it depends. A lot of the ones, the engineering type ones, like I think there's a light bulb that they have that it changes all different colors, so you can kind of like decide what kind of lighting you want in your house. And that was a Kickstarter program, and that was like, they just oversold that. It was like they got like, I don't know, 1 million orders or something, and they only wanted 5,000, and so they can be very successful.
They make a ending to it, and you have to obtain a certain amount of money by a certain period of time. And if you don't, then you get
nothing.
Right, you get nothing.
Yeah.
And you did it.
Yeah, it was successful. It was really good, and I was prepared for it not to be a success. I was like, okay, well, just, I learned how to do it, and I'll try again and see if I can make it more successful the next time. But it was pretty exciting when we completed it. Yeah.
It must have been exciting, but nerve-wracking.
Yes, it was like a roller coaster, because I think we did it for a month, and so in the beginning, it starts out really, everybody's just, and then all my friends and family are tapped out.
No
everybody
more money.
that I know, and then so then it sort of goes off, and then it sort of spikes again at the end, and so yeah, it was a little bit of a roller coaster.
Did you choose Kickstarter? What are some other names of programs? Do you know?
Oh boy.
Well, did you choose them above the other ones for a reason?
I think that I think that Kickstarter, because they're more about the arts, and so that's why I chose Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I can't actually remember. I do remember looking into one other one, and I found Kickstarter to be a better fit for me. But
well, you're the first book I heard of that has done this, and I'm really excited to be able to tell other authors about it. There are a lot of authors who say, well, I do want to write a book, I do have a good idea, but I don't have the money, and I don't want to invest a lot of money in it. And it was very innovative that you did this.
Thank you. Yeah. It was a good experience, a learning experience.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the book. I did want to touch upon that you wrote it with your brother, who is Joe Griffin.
Yeah.
And I was just curious as to where does he live? Does he live near you?
He lives in Brooklyn, New York.
Wow.
So we did most of it over email. And he's a editor there. He edits movies, and when he has the time, he makes his own movies, and so he's been storytelling for a long time.
And I then was curious as to what your parents were like. Do you think they helped inspire having their son and daughter collaborate in making a book?
I think they were happy about it. Yeah, I think especially my mom. She actually wrote a novel herself when she was, 25 or so, and has not let me read it yet. Although I did sneak a peek when I was, 14. I read about a chapter, but she thinks it's silly because she was 25. So, and so I think she was excited, that my brother and I were working together, and he's one of my best friends. we have a really good relationship, and he's so
But
creative.
you had a long distance relationship in writing this book.
Yeah, yeah.
Does he have children?
He doesn't.
Oh.
No. Yeah, he's an artist, so he's
I see.
focusing on his work.
Yeah, so you had a nice blend there.
Yeah, and he's got so much experience with the storytelling, and he's every detail has to be right. He's a director, in his heart, and so every little detail he wants to make sure, and so he was a good balance for me. I was sort of the drive, and he was sort of the quality control, and we've talked about the second Pooh Caper. I don't know if you know, it's a series.
No, but we'll save that towards the end.
Okay.
I also wanted to know about the illustrator, Colby Perrine.
Perrine, yes.
Perrine.
Colby, yeah.
Colby. And do you know him?
I
do. Not all authors will even know their illustrators.
Yeah, I do. I do know him. I actually, he was the first person that I called up to ask if he would consider illustrating the book, and I sent him the words. And he was so excited about it. And he, like I said, he was starting his MFA, and so he had this just wealth of creative energy around him, all the other creative people, and so he would do one of the drawings. We talk about what we wanted, and then he would do one of the drawings and show it to his friends and be like, "What do you think about this?" And so he had a lot of input there, which was, I think, a benefit.
And did he live far away?
And
does he?
He does live far away. I'm embarrassed to say I cannot remember the name of the school that he's
Well,
going to
I was
right
just
now.
curious because this was not an easy task
Right.
for you. You wrote it with your brother, who was on the other side of the United States. The illustrator wasn't nearby, and you were able to pull it all together.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It was. It took some work.
And the illustrator was pretty crucial, it seemed, in the Kickstarter program because you had a few illustrations on it so that the people who were contributing could get an idea of what the book was going to look at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so important because, we didn't want to give away the book by putting all the words on the page, but just putting a few pictures allowed people to feel like they could sort of envision what the finished product would be. Because, they want to feel like they're a part of building something, but if all they see are words on a page, they're, talking about a book, it doesn't.
Seeing the illustrations, really, especially if it's a children's book.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you find it changed your relationship working with your brother?
I think I respect my brother a lot more for what he's able to do. And his I always knew he was creative when we were kids. He'd always we'd make films or whatever, and he'd always sort of be the director. And but it's more than that. It's work. It's hard work, and he knows how to do that, and he respects his own sort of creative integrity, and so I learned a lot from him by doing that. So yes, I would say that it changed, but we're still just as silly with each other as we ever were. It's not like we're business partners now. It's like we enjoy collaborating.
Well, that was a good match, and it worked.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah. Well, could you either tell us what your best part of the book is, or read us a part? That would be very fascinating for our audience.
Sure, I would be happy to. So I'm gonna, I'll flip. This is actually my favorite illustration.
Good. Nice colors.
This sort of Emily Dickinson kind of character here. And she goes through all these different characters, and this one is where she's very introspective and is really trying to come to terms with what has happened here. But they say if I love her, I should let go my concern. Oh, she's lost her Pooh. She doesn't know where it went. It's gone missing. So it wasn't meant to be if she doesn't return. I guess Pooh is gone, for worse or for better. I will tell of my sadness when I flush her a letter. That's my favorite. That's my favorite illustration.
And you said there was a part in it that was your daughter's favorite.
My daughter's favorite.
Part.
She loves this page, which is where she's the cover of the paper book, the first edition, which we're gonna change this cover, but it's this one where she's scuba diving.
Oh.
And she says, and she has, just decided that she just has to accept that the Pooh is gone and that she'll just have to flush her letter. And then she says, wait. The search cannot end. I'll find her, I shout. I'll slip on my flippers and figure this out. Harpoon in hand, I am ready to dive to find my lost treasure and give her high fives. And that's my daughter's favorite part because she thinks it's so funny that the Pooh would have a hand to give a high five to. She just thinks that's so funny.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my favorite part.
Oh, do tell.
Yes. I just thought it was so funny that you had an anatomy of a toilet.
Yeah.
And it's a real toilet, and it labels all the parts of the toilet. And I was wondering how your daughter thought of that.
Oh, of the anatomy of the toilet?
Did she like seeing that? When you read it, do you read the parts of the toilet?
We never have.
Oh.
I bet she would think that was interesting, though. And my son, too. My son's only 2, but he really likes how things work.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Children like to know how things work.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that to put in the anatomy of the toilet?
This was actually, Colby, the illustrator, had, this was like a little bit of research for him before he started any of the rest of the drawings. He felt like he needed to know, how a toilet worked before he started drawing all of these things. Oh. And so this was something that he drew just kind of as a sketch, and sent it to me, and we just love this picture. We had my brother and I had the same reaction to this picture as you did, and so we added it on because we felt like it had to be in there.
Children really do like to know how things work.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to show this to her next time. Yeah, I just always skip to the colorful pages, but.
It is so wonderful when you are self-published that you can change the cover. And so what made you decide that, so you have decided to change the cover, and what?
The ebook, we have an ebook too. And the ebook has the what I think will be the new cover on it, which is this one with the gremlin. And the reason that we decided to change it is because, or I decided because I feel like the colors are sort of washed out, because that's the thing is that I didn't have a professional designer designing it. And so I felt like the cover was a little bit washed out. Nobody else agrees with me, but that's what I think. And my father-in-law has
to be a perfectionist after a while.
Yeah. But my father-in-law has a friend who actually studied children's literature, and she has been a librarian for many years. And she has done studies with kids in libraries where she'll put a book out, or a number of books out, and she'll watch the way which books the children go to based on the cover, and which books the parents go to based on the cover. And so she agreed with me that I totally separately, she had the same conversation with my father-in-law that I was having with myself. And we pointed to the same page that should be the cover. And so I feel like my intuition was right there. So we're going to change it.
But it can vary so much as to what parents are attracted to. Than what children are attracted to.
Yeah.
You probably know this.
It's true. Yeah.
Well, the book Phantom, it got great reviews on Amazon.
Good. I haven't been on there in a while, but I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, I always like to check that out.
Yeah.
And I bet you're working on another book now.
We are starting to.
Oh, you're going to do it with your brother?
With my brother.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't want to give too much away, but it's another Pooh Caper.
Oh,
and it'll be a little different. We have ideas for the same character for another book, but the next one that we're working on is actually based on our childhood. Mm-hmm. And I'm afraid to talk too much about it because I don't want to lose steam.
Well, yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll use the same illustrator?
We've been talking, my brother and I have been talking about how to do it. We've talked about using different illustrators for everyone. We've talked about using the same, we were talking about doing a Pooh Capers, 3 Pooh Capers, and then 3 maybe Pooh Chronicles or something else. And these would have to do with animals, and then these would have to do with this main character, or with, children.
Yeah.
So, and it's all, there's that famous Everybody Poops.
Yes.
Yeah,
children's book. That children's book.
Yeah,
yes.
And kids love that book, and they love books about. I mean, honestly, the reviews that I get from this, from people that I know, children as young as a year and a half, and then all the way up through like 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and then of course like the adults think it's funny too.
Do you think you'll be going through the Kickstarter program again? Can you do that?
I can. I could. I don't think I will. I think I'll try to find other ways. I need to find, because the hardest part is the sales and marketing part, which is the part that the traditional publishing houses do. And I'm not great at selling myself, and I don't particularly enjoy it. I do see it as a challenge, but it's not, something that yeah. So I think I'm gonna have to find another way of doing it that maybe they call it like a hybrid publishing now, where you sort of part self-publishing and then part, where you can do the sales and distributions through a company. And so that's probably where we'll go the next time. And so I'll just get to that point by myself, without kickstarting it.
And that's called hybrid publishing?
Yeah.
That's the name of it?
I mean, it's a loose term. I don't know if that's like an official term, but yeah.
I'm just mentioning it because the
and it's new. I know
authors like to know all these things.
It's new. It's pretty exciting, I think, like the new stuff that's going on with arts in general, but with publishing, because there's so many more options out there for us now. And there are really some wonderful, wonderful self-published books out there.
Well, when I looked at your Kickstarter program, it must have been wonderful to succeed, but it looked very nerve-wracking to me because you said you get 30 days, is that correct?
We chose 30 days, yeah. You can choose 20, or I think you can go up to 60.
Oh.
There's a certain number you can go up to.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting aspect to it. And where can our audience buy this wonderful, cute little original, it's very original book?
This is available on Amazon, and the ebook is available on iTunes.
iTunes, okay. We'll make sure that's in the credits.
Okay.
So that everybody can buy your book.
Thank you.
It was wonderful having you on WriterSpeak, Amy, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. It was wonderful being here.
WriterSpeak was produced at C Media Labs in Santa Rosa. I would like to also thank our sponsor, the Sonoma County Gazette. Please join us next time for another exciting interview with a local author.